All right, welcome to Profiles and Professional Pathways. Today we're going to be exploring how effective teaching in higher education requires more than just subject matter expertise. It demands a strong foundation in evidence-based pedagogy, inclusive practices, and student-centered learning. So whether you're a new Ph.D. grad, an industry professional entering the classroom, a higher ed administrator transitioning into teaching, or an experienced faculty member looking to formalize your approach, this innovative certificate program is designed to bridge that gap between expertise and instruction. So over the next 30 minutes or so, we'll discuss how this program equips you to create engaging, accessible, and outcomes-driven learning experiences while building stronger connections to their institutions and the diverse students that they serve. So to help us better understand all of this are my two guests here today that I'm delighted to welcome, Sherry Steeley and Stephanie Kim, who are co-creators of the certificate and faculty members as well. So let's dive into our first theme and question. So I will direct this to Sherry. So this program brings together a really diverse cohort, could be new Ph.D. graduates who are already trained to research, but not necessarily to teach, could be corporate professionals stepping into adjunct roles, and really veteran master teachers as well who want to really formalize their practice. So how does this program build a cohesive community out of such different backgrounds, and how do these groups uniquely learn from one another?
It's a great question. Thank you, Lisa. So starting out with the question of who comes to the program, that the way you described it is perfect. And the exciting part of all those different perspectives is that they bring their pre-existing conceptual frameworks to the course material. So, for example, at the beginning of the program, we spend time focusing on the foundation, the question of how people learn and what students want to get out of the program, meaning their future or current students. And it helps everyone rethink the approaches they take to their classroom. And the way that looks is very different for someone teaching undergraduate math, as one of my student participants in the program was last year, as opposed to somebody teaching at the master's level in liberal studies, which is very conceptually oriented, and then our professional faculty working on fields like cybersecurity, and they may be, or sports management, journalism. They are working with students who want to learn today and apply tomorrow. Having those diverse groups of professionals and faculty share their approach to the classroom means that, for example, a math professor may be thinking more about outcomes. What do the students need to take away? And the faculty working in professional programs may reconsider some of the foundational ideas and problem-solving skills that their students need to take away. So they definitely learn from each other. There's great age diversity among the students that the faculty participants will be working with. So that too leads to conversations. And to develop that community, we have very active synchronous sessions as the semester goes, but also asynchronous discussions, both small groups and whole group, so that student participants, our course participants, can share very practical situations from their classrooms, and the group can collectively engage in problem solving or alternative approaches. That was a long answer.
Not at all. So a lot of different perspectives coming to the table here. And interestingly, they're learning about teaching, but they're learning about learning in different modalities as well. So they're getting that exposure with the asynchronous and synchronous modalities. So that's great. All right, let's move to our next question. So for Stephanie, many faculty members went to college under a completely different educational paradigm, one dominated by more passive lecturing. So how does this certificate challenge these legacy mindsets and successfully shift instructors toward modern, student-centered, and outcomes-based instruction?
Thank you, Lisa. Well, first of all, thank you for the question. I think Sherry touched on this a bit, but I'll expand a little more. So, you know, by moving away from that legacy model, the sage on the stage, we like to think of faculty as the guide on the side. And in many ways, that's what Sherry and I are when we are teaching this very course, because we are not just ourselves the only teachers. The other student, the quote unquote students, are also faculty themselves. But taking that a little bit more in detail, I think that one of the most paradigm shifting mindsets has been moving into a student learning outcomes model. That's where higher ed teaching and learning has really moved. And if you went to college or even graduate school, even, not terribly long ago, 10, 15, 20 years ago, this wasn't exactly the dominant teaching and learning paradigm. And so many of our faculty who regularly teach in university settings may not necessarily be familiar with the student learning outcomes approach. So we talk about, the course that we design, the certificate program really does sort of provide that basic framework for understanding how to even approach teaching. And that affects everything. That affects the way you design your own instruction, that it affects the learning activities, that it affects grading, the way you even approach assessments through rubric models. And all of that gets captured in the course. And so we're really hoping to kind of shift that mindset for people who want to stay current in what teaching in higher ed requires today.
Yeah, so it's really an amalgamation of, comprehensive techniques that they're going to take away from all this, which is great. All that practical information that they can then apply right away.
Yeah. Right.
So the next question is, today's adult learners are highly pragmatic. They want to know exactly what they're learning and how it applies to their careers immediately, as I was just saying. So from a curriculum design perspective, and you kind of touched on this a little bit, how does this program teach faculty to balance immediate real-world utility with broader institutional learning outcomes? Does that make sense?
Yes. If that's for me, I'll go ahead.
Sure, Sherry.
Right. So ideally, we start the program with an assignment based on program learning outcomes, because we want our participants to see how they, as faculty teaching a single course, fit into the entirety of their program, so that they're not isolated and they see exactly what their students need to learn within the scope of the program, because we want students completing programs to have this vast array of skills that will advance their academic or professional progress. So within that context, by looking at their course within program learning outcomes, they can see each of their assignments, each of their class meetings as a step toward that, so that everything they do should have a smaller objective that aligns with the larger outcome or course objective and program learning outcome. And that, in many cases, I've heard participants say that they never really understood why they are teaching X, Y, or Z, or how important some of the aspects of their course really are, so that they can then use, for example, a case study approach that very deliberately incorporates both the immediately relevant skills and the larger ideas that will take the students on the pathway forward. if that makes sense.
Yeah,
And
great.
on a micro level, within our program, we try to do the same thing. So we try to model what we are teaching, right? Because ultimately it's best practices in higher education. So our students progress in each module from discussion to a very applied assignment, for example, that program learning outcomes assignment, to then a reflection that brings together all of their ideas so that by the end of the course, they have a philosophy of teaching that captures their new ideas. So as to sort of formalize that paradigm shift that Stephanie mentioned.
Right. And if I could just add one thing to it, I mean, this is just an example from a previous semester when I taught the course. There was a longtime faculty member who himself is a very talented teacher, but he had never had formal teacher training. And throughout the semester that he took the certificate program, I mean, he was basically understanding how to operate in this backward design model, that you start with the outcome that you want all students to achieve, and then you map out how you get there. And so even in real time, he was going back to his his actual teaching and redesigning assignments. He was actually starting to create rubrics. The rubrics that he was working with as a sample within the certificate program, he was then using to model better rubrics and assessment practices in his actual teaching that semester. And so I don't think it's necessarily a tension of either or of, here is this abstract concept that we call teaching and learning, and here is what we can apply immediately. I think the application really is the outcome for this particular certificate. And the rigor is built into that. The application is part of the activity. And I just bring that example up because it's just one of those real-time things where you feel like, wow, I think he really took a lot from this program and was able to immediately apply it to the actual course he was teaching that semester.
And if I can add to it, that goes back to the original question, Lisa, the point. So to draw out the point that we do, like Stephanie said, get people who have been teaching for a long time, 10, 15 years, as well as people just coming out of graduate programs or people with 1 to 2 years of experience. All of those are experts in their academic professional field, but very few have actually had training. So this really helps them to leverage their expertise in a way that engages students. They're not just there to dump their knowledge on the table, but to, in fact, invite students to bring their own cognitive frameworks to that field and make meaning from it and develop ways to apply it in their lives, even if it's an abstract field. But if it's a professional field, very concretely.
It's remarkable how this course has such a broad applicability to and everyone gets something out of it. So no one's going to sit there and think, I know this already. Why am I hearing this again? This really doesn't apply to me. Everyone is really getting a lot out of it. So it's remarkable in the design of the class that, as Stephanie said, thinking from the ending, the outcome to the beginning, how you've really designed it so that everyone gets a lot out of the course as well as what they bring into it. So it's kind of a really nice relationship there.
Yeah. And with
go ahead. Sherry.
Sorry. I just wanted to build on the guide on the side comment from Stephanie. We are also the guides on the side. So I feel very humble to be working with some very highly skilled professionals. And I learn from them every single semester because of that diversity of ideas. I think that peer learning part is very, very powerful.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I've learned that from all the certificates I've taken. It's sort of an added bonus. It's not just what I'm learning, but who I'm learning with. Mm-hmm. So I learned so much from all the people that are in the certificate as well, because of all the experience they bring to the table. So it's really fun. Moving beyond the lecture, we know that engaging classrooms rely heavily on applied projects and peer interactions, yet standing at a podium and lecturing is often the safe default. What are the biggest hurdles faculty face when trying to implement active learning, and how does this certificate build their confidence to manage that dynamic classroom?
Yeah. Yeah, and this is something that Sherry and I really grappled with as we were talking through some of the ways to approach this particular program. And Sherry, feel free to interject at any point, but we started with the idea that we didn't just want the participants to learn how to, we wanted them to take away two things. One is better understanding and designing their teaching around the faculty to student relationship, and then also the student to student peer relationship, because different kinds of learning happen in those two ways. Mm-hmm. And so, and then not only did we want the program to teach that to the participants, we ourselves built that into the very certificate program as a way to model it in what it could potentially look like. And so, of course, there is the faculty to student interactions, whether that happens in the online discussion boards, the various activities that we've set up. There are also discussion activities we've also put into the program itself. There's a peer learning activity where students will have to identify a sensitive issue around a topic or a student case. And sometimes there's no right answer, but what we had them do in this peer learning activity is to connect with another one of their peers and talk through with their peer how they would handle this particular sensitive issue. And we built those kinds of peer-to-peer learning opportunities into the certificate program as well. Sherry, did you want to add anything to that? Because I didn't want to sort of, take away some of these amazing details that really were in many ways your brainchild.
Well, those are really great examples, Stephanie, because they help to enact that paradigm shift. But moving away from the lecture method is not easy. Like Lisa, you said, it's a safe default. So the way we fundamentally approach that is first by modeling. We don't lecture at all, but kind of the research-based best practice is to share information in small chunks and then to activate that by discussion and using the new ideas, whether it's case study or developing something. And we provide a lot of models as well. For example, how to conduct an interactive class. One easy way is to share the lecture materials in reading, in a sense, in advance of the class. When students come to class, they can have a debate, a discussion, problem-solving case study kind of thing. And then the instructor is sort of freed up. It's very freeing it's a great leap of faith, right, to empower students, to allow for some student autonomy. But once they do, they have more fun because they interact with students, circulate, moderate a student-led debate or student presentations, and they really are guiding the students. It's not that they're not sharing their expertise, it's that they're doing it in a format that is more digestible for students and using that live classroom in a way that is fully engaging.
Mm-hmm. That's great. So moving forward to kind of breaking isolation and, institutional alignment here, it's often said that adjunct faculty operate on an island, disconnected from university support systems, handbooks, ethics codes, and so forth. How does the Georgetown Certificate intentionally bridge this gap to make part-time or new faculty feel integrated into the broader campus ecosystem?
Yeah, this is actually something that I outside of this certificate program, I actively think about in my day-to-day work. So I direct a master's program that actually is highly dependent on adjuncts providing instruction for the students. And so one of the recurring themes is that adjuncts, they bring with them a wealth of industry knowledge from whatever field that they come from. They have that expertise, they have that connection, and they come to Georgetown and they feel like they're plopped into a classroom and they're told, okay, well, go figure it out. That's very often the experience that adjuncts have. And so the certificate program has done two things. One is that the certificate program has taken a bit of care to model, what connections for an adjunct could look like. So what are resources that exist within Georgetown? Because they may not be exactly the same if an adjunct comes from a different institution, but they will look kind of similar. So, becoming more familiar with, of course, academic integrity policies, student affairs resources, academic affairs resources, just being able to understand the different moving parts of a higher ed institution and to understand where they sit within that, where their program sits within that, because that's also part of the architecture of it all. So getting them to see that bigger picture, and then also how that would shape their particular way of teaching the course. So understanding the big picture, and then understanding the micro application of that big picture.
Mm-hmm. Right, and to add to that, we sort of intentionally designed the program so right away at the beginning of the course, they do have to go back to their program directors or department heads, depending on the institution or type of teaching, someone in charge, so they can get that program mission, program learning outcome, and see where they fit, how they are connected. And they may not have done that. They may not have had that onboarding experience at all or to feel connected. So that really builds something. And we also focus on the larger sort of institutional mission. And people are at different universities, which have different kinds of mission statements and goals and ideals, and that's fine, but we give them a chance to explore that and then come back and discuss that and how those ideas connect to what they are teaching. And that's really, really powerful. And then on the policies and resources for faculty and students, we have a module where we connect a lot of that material because it is important for students to understand kind of the ethical framework and also what resources are there to support them and to support their students, whether it's, across the board for all sorts of different issues.
Right. And, those of us, the three of us work in higher ed. So maybe we take all these things for granted because we're just fully immersed in it day to day. But we really try to take the mindset of, okay, I am a busy practitioner working in a particular field that is not higher ed per se. I come in to teach a class or two because this is what I love to do and I love to engage with students. But what is it that I would need in this particular situation? Because also, just from a pragmatic standpoint, adjuncts are busy. Teaching is just one of 100 different things that they do. So we wanted to make this digestible, applicable, and also time sensitive to their busy schedules as well.
And really, before we kind of conclude for the day, I want to mention, if any of you have questions from the audience, please place them in the chat. In addition, Jonathan's put a couple of helpful links in there for you to take a look at. And just want to mention that we do have a wait list for the fall cohort, or fall course, I should say. So I would encourage you to continue to register. The spring course will be opening up. But if someone does drop out, you could move up from the wait list into the fall course. So I want to encourage you to do that. So again, put those questions in the chat, and I'll kind of wrap up with if both of you could comment on kind of, day one impact. So for someone looking at the certificate as an accelerator, perhaps an administrator transitioning to the classroom or an adjunct wanting to stand out on a CV, what's the ultimate return on investment here? What can they do on that day one that they couldn't do before they walked into the classroom with you?
I can take that. They right away at the beginning of the course, we talk about the big question, the fundamental question, and that is, how do people learn? Mm-hmm. So within that first week, they will not only get some core ideas, again, from small bits of information. We don't have theoretical academic readings. That's not useful. We have practical readings, videos, all sorts of media with the idea, but how it is enacted. So they can hear a podcast talking about a particular learning situation and walk away with new ideas and say, aha, that explains why that student in the back doesn't speak. Here's what I can do. They have, real solutions, new ideas for approaching their classroom, and a sense of connection to their department and institution. And that's just at the beginning of the course. Lots more follows that, from assessment and ethics and building a classroom community and communicating with students. All of the really fundamental issues that move faculty from just an expert that comes in to a stellar, once in a lifetime kind of teacher. And that's what we aim to do.
And, just practically speaking as well, this is also a certificate program. So at the end of all of it, once you successfully complete it, you get a certificate in teaching and learning and higher education from Georgetown SCS. And so in various settings, it signals to the audience, I not only have I taught before, but I know the fundamentals of teaching. I bring that confidence. I bring that multimodal engagement. I know how to, work with students to design activities, to understand student learning outcome-based teaching and learning. And so it signals that these are skills that someone who completed the program has attained.
I've invested in myself, so I care, essentially. I want to be the very best instructor that I can possibly be. And so I'm seeking out this experience to really buttress what I maybe know in the past or what I'm transitioning and wanting to do. And, seeking out that really high quality instruction that you will receive at Georgetown to, give me the knowledge I need to move forward and to be the very best instructor I can be for my students moving forward. So, and I can take that knowledge wherever I go. They may stay at an institution for a long time. They may go to other institutions, which also speaks to how they can sort of flex based on different policies, different cultures, different missions, as you mentioned, Sherry. So, it's just highly practical tool to take with them.
Absolutely.
So, participants. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Sherry. Sorry.
No, maybe we're going to say the same thing. I was just going to ask if anyone in the room has questions for us. Please don't be shy. Either turn on your camera or put them in the chat.
Yeah, definitely. We'd love to hear from anyone who has something on their mind. It's possible your question is on the mind of someone else as well. And just a reminder that, the course for the fall is full, but we do have a wait list. So I'd encourage you to register for it and join the wait list. There may be some that drop. In addition, that will put you directly in line to be taking it in the spring as well. So we're excited about that fact that it is in wait list territory right now, but we want you to join us for certain. So, please do sign up. Let me take this opportunity to thank Stephanie and Sherry for sharing their expertise with us today, and congratulations on this certificate and developing it. We're excited to have it here at Georgetown. So thank you to both of you, and thank you all for joining us today. Please join us for another Profiles in Professional Pathways going forward.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Lisa. Thank you, everyone, for this. Stephanie and I love talking about these issues, so we're happy to do so anytime if you all want to follow up with an email to the department.
Yeah, definitely. Connect with us on social media as well, on our LinkedIn profile.